How much time do you waste in a day? Is it an hour? People say no. Is it like 4 hours? No. 10? No. It's usually about 6. I can get a group of 200 students to agree that they're just wasting 6 hours a day. No, and by their own definition of wasting, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay. So then we do some mathematics with that. We've got the 6. That's fine. 6 hours a day. Okay. So that's 40 hours a week. All right. So then I think, well, what's your time worth? And they think, well, minimum wage, because most of the students, if they went out to work, they'd only get minimum wage. But that's not right, because that's a discounted version. Mm-hmm. Their time is worth way more than that if they're working on something useful, because it's an investment. So it's perfectly reasonable to assume that if you're a reasonably bright student, your time is worth $25 an hour, something like that, and because of its potential for future payoff. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that's $1,000 a week. Right. So it's $4,000 a month, it's $50,000 a year. Mm-hmm. In 4 years, it's $200,000. So that's what wasting your day is costing you. It's like, let's make no mistake about it. You're going to be $200,000 poorer in 4 years because you're wasting your time. Is that really what you want to do? Mm-hmm. You're rich enough so that you're willing to forego that $200,000. Well, no one's ever sat them down and said, look, put an estimate out of the value of your time. Figure out how much of it you're wasting, mm-hmm. and then ask yourself if you really think that that's a good idea. Because it's actually not a good idea. And I don't think anybody thinks it's a good idea. Well, do you enjoy yourself while you're wasting that time? And the answer is always no. People feel terrible. It's like, they're watching one YouTube video after another that they're not even interested in, or they're watching like endless amounts of pornography or some damn thing. Or they're playing video games, not because they want to, but because they can't stop. And they know they should be doing something else. It's not enjoyable time. So not only is it and that's part of why it's wasted. It's like, it's not productive and it's not enjoyable.
Graduates, how many hours a day you waste or how many hours a week you waste. And the classic answer is something like 4 to 6 hours a day. Inefficient studying, watching things on YouTube that not only do you not want to watch, that you don't even care about, that make you feel horrible about watching after you're done. That's probably 4 hours right there. You think, well, that's 25 hours a week. It's 100 hours a month. That's 2.5 full work weeks. It's half a year of work weeks per year. And if your time is worth $20 an hour, which is a radical underestimate, it's probably more like 50 if you think about it in terms of deferred wages. If you're wasting 20 hours a week, you're wasting $50,000 a year. And you are doing that right now. And it's because you're young, wasting $50,000 a year is a way bigger catastrophe than it would be for me to waste it, because I'm not going to last nearly as long. And so if your life isn't everything it could be, you could ask yourself, well, what would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be, who knows how much more efficient? 10 times more efficient, 20 times more efficient. That's the Pareto distribution. You have no idea how efficient people get. It's off the charts.
Hey, it's Phil, and if you like my channel, don't forget to subscribe and check out some more videos about how to overcome procrastination and laziness and do more in less time.